Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Let's Talk Jets Radio, where you're not going to believe this. I mean, last week we were ridiculously blessed to have a very special guest, and that special guest, right after their 8th loss of the season, they're 0-8, that guest had decided to join us again. Coach Gase, we are honored, we are flattered. Coming from where we came from, I mean, we had Let's Talk Jets Radio. We lost our credentials. You kicked us out of your facility. You don't want us a part of you. And now for you to come on this show with us 2 weeks in a row, it's an honor, and we really appreciate it, man. So thank you for your time.
No, we appreciate you, giving me a platform to discuss the team. And any questions you have, fire them away.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do is we'll start with yesterday's game. We're at the midseason point. We'll start with yesterday's game first. You're playing a very good team. One of the best teams of football. Your team's struggling a little bit. What were your expectations going into this game?
Yeah, we just wanted to keep it competitive. We thought we had a good chance to go out there and win. We had a phenomenal week of practice. We were really getting after it. We thought we had some plays that they weren't going to be ready for. As it turns out, they had some of the things that, we were looking to do they were ready for it at the end of the day. And, we just didn't really have any adjustments in the second half. We tried to open up some things in the passing game. That didn't work out. And just a lot of mistakes.
So one of the big things you keep mentioning is the good week of practice. What constitutes a good week of practice in your eyes?
Just guys showing up on time, focused in the meeting rooms, just paying attention to the little details, trying to get better each day. And, it's something that we've seen every day this year. It might not translate on Sunday as far as the win-loss column goes, but, these guys are all in, and that's the kind of culture that we want to build here.
So how do you explain the not translating to Sunday? Because, if you had the great week of practice, wouldn't that translate to the field? Then it seems like that would be the common, the way it looks at things in a row.
Yeah, well, it was for a little bit, for about a quarter and a half, almost 2 quarters. That was essentially a 1-score game. And then, we had the mistake on the special teams with the fake punt. So just, it's a few mistakes here and there that are really costing us an opportunity to hang in a lot of these games for 4 quarters.
But, I mean, I understand what you're saying, a quarter and a half, but the game lasts 4 quarters. So at what point will this team actually play 4 quarters?
Well, I mean, we are playing 4 quarters. Unfortunately, some things just aren't going our way. We've been trying to establish the run, try to keep, Kansas City's defense on the sidelines. We were doing that for a few quarters, and then, we start to make some mistakes. Defense can't get off the field. It's just always, one thing that's going wrong. It seems like we don't have the full special teams, defense, offensive team just kind of, clicking together right now.
Okay, well, we'll focus on, last week, I guess we can give you guys credit. Last week you had 4 yards of offense in the second half. This week you had like 64 yards. That's definitely an improvement. But if you look at the offense as a whole, it seems like on every first down you run the ball. I mean, our host on this show, I think you made them both alcoholics because we bet on that, and you actually do run the ball on every first down. Can you explain why you do that?
Well, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you're trying to soften up the defense a little bit. Frank Gore, he was running the ball pretty well. We were gaining, a lot of positive yardage early on. We were controlling the time of possession in the first half. And, when you're playing a team with an offense like Kansas City, that's the approach that you want to have to try to win the game. You want to ground and pound, establish the run, get Sam, kind of comfortable back there, not allowing the defense to just, kind of pin their ears back and get after him, in the pass rush. And yeah, we thought that, kind of softening them up with Frank Gore would eventually establish the passing game for us.
Now, you can make an argument, which I think the entire fan base and every member of the media has made the argument that, Frank Gore, while he's a decent player, you have more explosive running backs on the field. Why would you not use P. Ryan and maybe Ty Johnson ahead of Gore to give your offense maybe a little push?
Well, because at the end of the day, it's still about trying to win games. It's not in my DNA to quit. I'm coaching here. I'm trying to win these games. And, we're going to give the guys who give us the best chance to win on Sundays, we're going to give those guys opportunities.
So you feel comfortable, Coach Gase, saying that Frank Gore gives you the most confidence, the most confidence to win the games and make your offense move over other guys?
Absolutely. And it's not just Frank Gore. I mean, P. Ryan, he got a number of carries, especially in the second half. We were able to work him in there. We worked him in, a couple pass plays as well. It's about keeping guys fresh and just, kind of rotating them in backfield by committee. We trust all 3 guys to make plays.
So it appears, some members of the media have said that, you were forced to give away your play calling to Dow Loggins, and then that's where we are now the last 2 weeks. But yesterday, it seemed like when the cameras panned on you and Coach Loggins, you were both calling a play at the same time. So did you actually do that, or like what's going on with the play calling here?
No, that's completely false. We were just having communications back and forth as coaches tend to do. I can understand why the media might tend to overreact to something that they see on TV. But at the end of the day, that again, it was just coach talk. We were having some conversations about the plays that were going in, and I thought that Dowell did a phenomenal job.
Okay, fair enough. Then if you're saying Dow Loggins is still calling the plays, so what exactly were you doing then on the sidelines? Because it seems like your head was still buried in the playbook.
Well, I was just, again, I was communicating with Dowell, overseeing some of the calls that were going in.
The defense was on the field, though.
Yeah, we were planning for the next drive.
But if you're not involved in the play calling offense, but shouldn't you manage the defense too and see what they're doing over there? Or is that just not part of your DNA?
Well, at that particular moment, we were trying to adjust to some things that we saw in the previous drive on offense. And, once I had my communications with Dowell, I was going to start looking over at Greg Williams in the defense. But I trust him there as well.
Okay, so there's a notion that, on your passing plays, they're always screen plays. They're always short of the sticks. If it's 3rd and 9, you throw the ball 5 yards. If it's 3rd and 12, you throw the ball 5 yards. No vertical passing, pass calls. Is that part of your offense? Is that execution? What the hell is wrong with the passing game?
Well, we got to take a look at the film to see what went wrong on a few of the pass plays that, you're probably talking about, some of the 3rd and long
the game
plays.
happened yesterday. How much film what'd you do all day today?
Well, we're still breaking it down. But again, at the end of the day, the play calls were correct. It wasn't a matter of, being a bad play call or anything like that. I understand, again, why you might say a screen pass on 3rd and long isn't the right call. But, we're trying to take what the defense gives us. There were opportunities there if we got the play blocked for Berrios to get that first down. Same thing with Pirine. So, again, it's just about execution. It's not about the play calls.
So, in your opinion, Coach Gase, after 8 weeks, you seem to be calling the same plays and they still aren't working. You still feel confident calling those same plays?
Well, yeah, as we discussed last week, you saw this offense and the way it was able to operate when Peyton Manning was at quarterback. This can be a very successful offense, but guys have to be able to execute it the right way. So like I said, it's about those attention to details, applying what we do in practice, which we do phenomenally, applying it on Sunday, on game day, doing it consistently for 4 quarters.
Okay, so interesting. So you're going to defend the play calling. It's more the execution. Can we go into the quarterback play now? Because the quarterback play, it appears that Sam Darnold is banged, battered, bruised. He's not playing with much confidence, and your play calling doesn't seem to really get him going. It's not really much. In our opinions, we're only fans, obviously, and we're not as an expert like yourself. Is that up tempo Sam really works more, works better. Rolling him out of the pocket works a lot better, and you don't really seem to do that with him. Is that by plan, or how does that work with you?
That's not really accurate. Sam, at the end of the day,
it's kind of accurate. He doesn't move out of the pocket, and it's never up tempo.
But again, like I said, the play calls are correct. It's about executing them. And for a majority of the game, the receivers, they were getting open. We were taking what they were giving us. Defensively, we were taking what they were giving us underneath. And yeah, we wanted to take some deep shots. Unfortunately, the defense was taking that away. And so yeah, the plays were there to be made underneath. We just have to get it blocked better.
So. Okay. But don't you think in order to get these, the shorter passing plays going, you got to stretch the field? In your previous press conferences, not with us, of course, but you mentioned that you need to have speed back on the field. So you have Mims, you have Vincent Smith, Jeff Smith, you have some speedsters. Why wouldn't you take some shots down the field, maybe open up things underneath?
Yeah, we thought about it. We had it in the playbook. But at the end of the day, like I said, the Chiefs defense were really taking away some of the things that we wanted to do as far as taking those deep shots. So we thought our best chance was to, work the ground and pound, which was successful early on. And then when we did try our screen passes, which were there, we just didn't get them blocked correctly.
Okay. So how would you assess the performance of Sam Darnold?
It's tough. It's been up and down with Sam. We've seen some moments where he looks really good. Other times where he's not looking so good and he's getting beaten around. The offensive line hasn't, particularly done a very good job blocking. The receivers have been in and out. He hasn't had his top 3 wideouts all year. So a lot of it's not on Sam, but at the end of the day, we all have to play better.
So it's interesting that you said that the offensive line hasn't really playing it well, because that was your general manager supposedly upgraded this offensive line where it should be more of an impact, especially when you have a big guy like Mekhi Becton on the left side. Why wouldn't you try to run the ball behind Mekhi Becton then and kind of get that established even more?
Well, yeah, I'm sure you saw the film. We did it once early in the game and it worked. So, once we had it in their mind, we figured, all right, let's get off of it. We think they're going to be prepared for it. So, that's why we tried to run Gore up the middle. We tried to do some of the screen passes. We figured they were prepared for it after, we had the first big play. You don't want to do too much of a good thing. I thought we had the right approach there.
I mean, just as a side note, Coach Gase, it's interesting that you're wearing sunglasses. Is that something? Is that a new look for you?
Yeah, I was just driving home from practice. We were watching the film and everything, so I just took them off real quick to talk to you.
Okay, so going back to Sam Darnold, so you said the offensive line is not very is not very good. Then you said, what happened to the tight end position? Chris Herndon seems like he's just falling apart. Ryan Griffin is invisible. Trevon Wesco only got the one carry, which was kind of surprising a couple of weeks ago. What happened to the tight end position?
Yeah, it's tough to really say what's going on with the tight end group right now. Just the offense in general. We're starting to make some plays here and there. We're starting to get the ground game going, and then it's a penalty, it's a sack. It's a miscommunication along the offensive line, and then that stalls a drive. And those are just less opportunities for guys like the tight ends to make some plays. We haven't really been in the red zone a whole lot, and when we have been there, that's prime opportunity for Frank Gore up the middle. And we'd like to establish him even more inside the red zone. So it's been tough, working the tight ends in, and when we do. They have to show a little bit more. Chris Herndon, 2 fumbles, 2 drops now. He's got to be better. Same thing with Ryan Griffin after signing his extension. He's got to be better. And that applies for all of us. We all have to be better.
So did you get any personal satisfaction out of Le'Veon Bell not doing anything yesterday?
No, I mean, what we saw out of Le'Veon yesterday was, what we've seen of him in a Jet uniform for about a year and a half. I'm sure you saw the articles in the offseason that, talked about him losing a step. It was kind of what we saw as well throughout most of training camp. As I'm sure as well, I never wanted to sign Le'Veon Bell for that kind of money. Working a backfield by committee approach is usually what works. You've seen Frank Gore this year. He's phenomenal. Like I said last week as well, I'd love to bring him back for another year just for his leadership alone. You can't put a price tag on that. Why not? I mean, he's a very young 37. I think he's a phenomenal mentor to LaMichael Pirine. There's no harm in bringing back a guy like Frank Gore.
Can you explain why Denzel Mims had no targets in the second half of the game yesterday?
Yeah, it's just kind of what the defense dictated. We wanted to get him involved a little bit more, and they were taking that away. So that's why we were working some of the underneath stuff, working Berrios in there, who had 8 catches for 33 yards. Did a good job there. So yeah, we were just getting the other guys involved.
So I mean, first of all, thank you for your time. I know we have a few more minutes left. We'll have some viewers ask questions if you have more time for that, but. Overall, you look at this team, 0-8. People are calling for you to be fired, which I know that's got to be very difficult for you and your family during the holiday season's coming up. Do you feel any of that pressure, or do you feel job security? Like you feel things are going in the right direction?
Like I told you last week as well, I'm not on social media, so a lot of the things that are being said.
Some people think you'd have like a burner account, actually.
Me?
Yeah.
No, I've never been on Twitter. I've never been on Instagram or Facebook or any of those social media platforms. That's not my thing. I spend my evenings watching football, analyzing film. So you know that.
Well, I mean, how long would it take you to say, when you say you watch film, that's a very common answer that you give us. How many days does it take you to watch one game of film?
It usually takes, throughout the week. We try to, break it up into, different quarters. The first quarter we break down on Monday, and then, we keep getting it, progressively as the week goes on. We try to get through the entire game. Okay,
so Coach Gase, I guess got a question. We have a bunch of viewers watching this. Would you be willing to answer some questions, or do you have to go?
Bring them on.
Okay, well, listen, people call you a prick. They call you arrogant. They call you a very standoffish, not a people person. But for you to take time, not only with me, to answer like fan questions, that's pretty impressive, Coach. We thank you very much for that.
I'm not here to dodge any questions. I'm comfortable with my job. I know I'm going to be here long term. So any questions that the fans want to bring on, I'm here to answer them.
Okay, let's see. The first question is, I don't know, has Gase had a chance to review the film yet? So I guess we'll start with that.
Yeah, like I said, we're still in the process of reviewing the entirety of the film. Like I said, from what we saw, there were some opportunities there for us to make some plays where we just didn't execute properly. Whether it was a miscommunication on the offensive line or just a bust as far as the receiver and the wide and the quarterback's timing goes. It was always something that was just kind of going wrong.
Coach Gase, why aren't you fired yet after being 0-8 and averaging 11.8 points per game?
Well, I think the fans need to understand that, a rebuild kind of takes some time. And, essentially we are rebuilding things here. I know you've seen some other coaches this year that have done some things in their first year. But again, we had a lot to kind of clear out, a lot of contracts that, were here before me that we had to get rid of. And there was just a lot of work that needed to be done. And, we're in position now to move forward with a lot of draft capital, a lot of cap space. And that was the plan all along.
So you're saying, wait, you just mentioned about you moving forward. So you feel confident you're coming back next year?
Yeah, like we've talked about, this is a process. I think the fans need to understand that, sometimes you have to bottom out before you can actually build it back up. And, Joe Douglas and Christopher Johnson, both those gentlemen are phenomenal at their jobs, and they've trusted me to oversee this rebuild. And I'm going to give them my best effort. And, I know the wins and losses, they haven't been ideal for this season, but I know we're heading in the right direction. When I see us every day in practice, I know the culture is really coming together and that this thing's going to get turned around soon.
So blowout losses week after week don't really phase you. It's kind of part of the process. And you think there's actually progress being made then, right?
Yeah, it's all learning experience for these guys. Whether you're successful or whether you fail, it's an opportunity to go back in the film room and analyze what you did well or what you didn't do well and improve day by day.
The next question from our viewers, did the Johnsons give you the majority of ownership stakes when you took the job?
They did not, but I know that Christopher Johnson, he has a great deal of trust in me to turn this thing around. Obviously what I inherited was not ideal. You were talking about a franchise that, nearly a decade straight without making the playoffs. So it was going to take some time to rebuild this thing and get the right guys in here. We're still in the process of doing that. And again, it's going to take some more time.
Coach Gase, did you know that UPS is hiring? Oh, I'm sorry, Coach. We shouldn't ask that question. That's very inappropriate. That's very unprofessional of us. We apologize for that. So
what was the suggestion there?
I think that they were just kind of saying that maybe you should look for a different job because yours could be on the line right now. But we know that based on what you're telling us, you have complete job security right now.
Again, I don't see any reason why the fans would be looking to get me fired if they saw the product that, we're working with here. We're getting the best out of what's here. Like I said, these guys are working hard in practice every day. Do we need some more talent? Absolutely. Did we need to clear out some of the previous contracts and guys that were here? Absolutely. So all of this is going to take some time, and I think the fans should realize that.
Next question is: do you watch the film on an iPhone 4 or a big screen? Excuse me. No.
Well, I tend to watch it on the big screen, just to get a close-up look of what's going on, and give me the best chance to evaluate like I said, what's going wrong, what's going right, and to make those adjustments for the following week.
Coach Gase, in a lost season, why are older veterans getting more snaps in the rookie class that Douglas drafted? Who's in charge here? That's a good question.
Well, again, it's not just about older veterans versus rookies. It's about, the right combination of players that give you the best chance to win on Sunday. And like I said, it's not in my DNA to go out there and coach to lose. I coach to win. And these guys are going to give their best effort. And, whether it's a rookie, whether it's somebody that's undrafted or a first-round pick, M. Darnold, or, Frank Gore at 37 years old, whoever's showing up in practice, which, is usually everybody, whoever's giving us the best effort in practice and earning those reps, they're going to get it on Sunday.
Coach Gase, what are your favorite crayon colors to use for your play sheet coloring book?
Depends on the game week. I usually like to go green, for our offense to go, into super drive or hyperdrive. There were a few opportunities this week where I thought that we were approaching that green stage where we were really going to go for it. And then, like I said, whether it was a penalty or a sack, something would kind of put us, behind 3rd and 5. And like I said in the press conference, we really don't have too many plays in our playbook for things beyond 3rd and 5. So, we really had to keep it 3rd and manageable. And unfortunately, that just got away from us at too many times.
Coach Gase, why is your time management, we won't call it bad, we'll call it questionable. It seems like you don't go up tempo, you waste timeouts, you run the ball when you should be passing it. Is there a rhyme or reason behind your 2-minute offense?
Well, again, I think from the fan perspective, it's easy to sit there and say, hey, coach, you got to be better at time management. But there's always a rhyme and reason for, some of the things that we're doing. Last week, you questioned some of the things that we were doing in the final 3 minutes. Well, we didn't want to give Buffalo the ball back. This past Sunday, we got the ball with, 58 seconds left at midfield. Unfortunately, again, some missed assignments, some missed blocks, and some opportunities that were there that we didn't execute and we didn't take advantage of. And that's why, unfortunately, the drive stalled out the way it did. and we were fighting for a field goal in the last few seconds instead of playing aggressively for a touchdown.
There was a story today about Sam Darnold being hurt. Now the MRI, he seems like he re-aggravated his shoulder, but he wants to work through it. Can you get through this? Can you explain the Can you explain the thought process behind him coming back in the game?
Well, our doctors deemed that he was healthy enough to go back in there. We wouldn't risk Sam if he was in danger of doing more damage to his shoulder.
Well, you did in Denver.
Fine. Well, no, it wasn't a matter of doing more damage to it. It was a matter of just trying to rest him up to get him back to 100%. And Sam has showed us he's capable of playing when he's not 100%. And, doctor said he couldn't do any more damage. MRIs revealed that today. So it's just about, kind of managing the pain at this point.
Will Darnold start the rest of the year? Will we see maybe the rookie Morgan?
We expect Sam to be out there. Like I said today, he gives us the best chance to win on Sundays. And, I know some people think we're trying to tank here. We're not about that at all. Like I said, it's not in my DNA to go out there and try to lose games. We're all about trying to win here. We're trying about being competitive every single Sunday. And Sam gives us the best chance to do that.
A couple more questions we have for you, Coach Gase. I have a question for Coach Gase. Why would you call a 5-yard play on a 3rd and 14?
Well, like I said, the play may have only been designed for 5 yards, but, we're expecting certain blockers to get out in front of that play. And, there were several opportunities where, if we make a block here and there, that 5-yard pass turns into a big play. And, every time that it seemed like we called something, the opportunity was there. We just didn't execute it properly.
How come you didn't use the tight end dive more? It's had such great success.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, like I was telling you the last time we were on, we ran that play with Trayvon Wesco a lot in practice. It was very successful. Our defense really was not anticipating it at all. We tried it once on game day, didn't really work out too well. So, it's still in our back pocket. We're just kind of waiting for the right opportunity to break it out again.
Okay, next one. Coach Gase, what is the appeal with Chris Herndon and wasting pass attempts to him?
Well, that's a good question. Chris Herndon has not been good this year. And that's a big part of the problem. Like, I've been saying, we don't really have enough playmakers here right now. We're trying to weed out some of the guys that were brought in from the previous regime. We thought we can get a little bit more out of Chris Herndon and especially Ryan Griffin as well. That's why we brought him back this year. It just hasn't worked out well for our tight end so far.
Okay, we'll do a couple more. We can wrap this up. Coach, again, thank you for your time. And it's 2 weeks in a row. We're very, very honored to have you on. Do you get high before the game or during halftime?
That's a good question. It depends on the game. It depends on whether or not we expect to be competitive. This year, it's usually before the game and at halftime.
Where do you see yourself coaching in the future if this happens to not work out with the New York Jets? Do you see it going to high school, college? Where would you see yourself going?
Well, I expect to be here for at least another 3 or 4 years. Like I said, me and Joe Douglas and Chris Johnson, we have a phenomenal working relationship together. There's plenty of mutual respect. We talk to each other every day, and we all have the same vision, the same goals. Which is just trying to steer this organization in the right direction and get this thing turned around as soon as possible.
Coach Gase, a Miami Dolphins fan wants to know, how are you still employed in the AFC East?
Well, unlike the Miami Dolphins, Christopher Johnson here, he's a very patient owner. He understood what I inherited here, and he's going to give me the time to, to build this thing up the right way. He recognizes that, the task at hand is not an easy one, and there was only one guy for the job, and that was me. Obviously, I did a much better job in my interviews than, guys like Matt Rule, Cliff Kingsbury, and other guys out there. And I'm definitely worthy for the position, and I expect to be here for a long time.
So what are your thoughts on having more double-digit losses than wins?
Like I said, it's a part of the process, unfortunately, when, you inherit a roster that's not really built for the offense that you want to run. You try to make certain adaptations as you go along. But it's never easy, and we're still in the process right now of just trying to get the right guys in here and really just reestablish a new kind of culture.
Okay, so I guess as we wrap this up, your team is 0-8. It's a very difficult season. According to this interview, you're saying that you feel confident you're coming back next year. You're going to be here. You're not going anywhere. You feel confident in the process. What would be your true message to Jet fans out there that most of them just hate you at this point? They're calling for you to be fired. They're begging for you to be fired. They're threatening to not buy tickets next year. There's a lot of hostility and animosity towards you. What would be your response to them?
Well, like I told you last week, for the fans, they need to trust the process. They need to understand that, we share that same passion, that same enthusiasm that they do. we want to get this thing turned around as soon as possible, but it does take some time. It does take getting the right guys in this building, and we're still trying to do that.
Okay, so then that's a fair question. And then I guess the last question we'll ask is, Coach Gase, how many years do you need to rebuild this franchise? When should we expect a Super Bowl run?
That's a very good question. In my experience, it usually takes, at least 4 to 5 years to, get a program turned around. Unfortunately, with Miami, I never really got that 4th and 5th year to, be there when things turned around. They started to turn things around after me, but a lot of that was, the groundwork that I laid. So, I know Chris Johnson, he's got patience here. Same thing with Joe Douglas. We're all on the same page, and we're all working together to get this thing turned around.
Mahomes threw 5 touchdowns in one game. The Jets have 4 touchdowns for 8 games. Do you see something wrong with that?
Yeah, like I was saying, it's a lot about execution. Guys, whether it's dropping passes, not executing in the red zone, not picking up the right block, miscommunications. We've had a number of things that have gone wrong. We've been moving the ball pretty well. Unfortunately, once we start to get close,
not in the second half.
Well, it's a game of adjustments, and we're still trying to get certain things figured out. Once the defense starts taking away some of the things that we're doing well, we're still trying to figure out the right counters to that.
Okay, well, Coach Gase, again, thank you. This is 2 weeks in a row that you've come on our show. We feel very honored. I mean, we can't come to your facility; you're coming to us, which is awesome. So, thank you for that. Do you have any final words to share before you leave?
Well, like I've been saying, for Jet fans, just, have faith, trust the process, trust that we're going to get this thing turned around. We share the same vision, same passion as you guys, and we want to see a winner here. It's not my DNA to lose, and we're going to get after it every week. Best team in practice. You're going to start seeing it on Sunday.
Well, Coach, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
Anytime, guys.
Have a good night. This is shit. Dude, I'm dying. My eyes are teared. Fucking the sunglasses on your head. The sunglasses got me, dude. They put just got, dude, I gotta go clear. Dude, my eyes are teared. I'm dying over here.
I was surprised that you pulled it together in time for the show. You were in tears for like 2 minutes before we started there.
I don't think you guys understand how hard it is. When primetime logs in, I see this big friggin' head. I had questions written. I spilled my thing on the question. I couldn't read questions. I'm like, oh shit. So
was that like the 7th show in a row with some spillage?
Oh my goodness. God, look at I respect Gates a lot more now.
Listen,
so
say what you want about him as a coach. He comes on, he answers the tough questions. You got to give him some respect for that.
Yeah, so thank you guys for watching that. We're trying to change things up a little bit, and we have some surprises for you. I think we have a plan. I'm pretty sure, I'm almost positive we have Joe Douglas coming on soon, and we have Chris Johnson coming on soon. So those will be fascinating. And for those of you that thought that Adam Gase was really going to come on the show, are you out of your fucking minds?
I saw one comment pop up. It was like, wow, that's such a great, get for you guys. I can't believe he came on the show. I didn't know if it was sarcasm or if they just didn't get the joke.
Like, dude, the organization hates us. I mean, there's not a chance in living hell. But so stay tuned. You never know when we're gonna have Joe Douglas and Chris Johnson both on. They're confirmed. We just gotta get our schedules locked down. We're looking forward to both of them. It's gonna be a very highly touted interview there. And prime time, the day after, Jets are 0-8. And I'm starting with the Sam Darnold thing because
that's where you want to start.
Yeah. Well, you want to start somewhere else?
Go ahead. I'll get into what I want to get into later.
No, go. You just did a good job. You can start because this shit just pisses me off. Dude.
I want to hear what you have to say about Sam because it might tie in to some degree.
The problem I have with Sam is that now he's hurt. They put him back in the game when he was obviously hurt. The whole decision-making process of putting him back in the game, Joe Douglas is involved. They're all involved, and they feel comfortable just throwing him back out there. And now he's got to play through pain, all this other stuff. When the game is out of hand, you're not winning it. Just like a Denver game, you get banged up, dude. Play for another day. We're not conquering the world here. You salvage it and you move on. Like you're not playing for a championship. Like why throw the kid back out there?
No,
why?
Listen, I kind of agree, but at some point you start to realize this season is not and has never been about Sam Darnold. We thought as fans, third year, this is the time to evaluate your franchise quarterback. They have not treated it that way at all. From the offseason moves they made, from the draft, not prioritizing offensive positions.
They mismanaged injuries to begin with, dude. They did it with Becton, Mosley, Bell, Darnold twice now. They don't know how to manage players.
Well, that's beyond obvious, but I'm saying it's nothing in particular, with Sam Darnold. They don't care about
Your
Sam.
Fucking quarterback.
he's not their quarterback. And that's
your
part of
quarterback, though.
That's part of what you've also been saying. He is not their quarterback. They have no intention of moving forward with him.
And just a matter of player safety, and it doesn't matter who it's like your starting quarterback is getting banged up. If he has a fucked up shoulder, you say, you know what, man, let's stay out the rest of the game. We'll get him checked out. We'll figure it out, and we'll come back for next Monday night. You don't keep throwing back in like, oh, you know what, maybe we'll do. You're not nothing. There's no benefit of doing that.
I agree with sitting him just because playing in this offense, as we know at this point, Sam is not getting better this year. There is nothing to gain from Sam Darnold playing this year in this offense. He's not going to be a part of the Jets beyond this year, most likely, or at least not with this head coach. Him and Adam Gase are not going to be together, all right, one way or another. So Sam Darnold's not part of the future. So from that standpoint, looking out for the best interest in Sam Darnold, from that standpoint, I can understand it. Other than that, the kid says he could play as long as the doctors tell you he can't do any further damage to his shoulder. I have no issue with letting him play.
I do, because you know what? At this point, Sam is reading the tea leaves, and you realize that everybody says you're too injury prone, you're not playing well, you're not doing this. Like at some point, you save the player from himself. And as an organization, you got to be smarter than this. You have to be. Like, dude, we knew yesterday he was banged up. You could see it. You could see in his body language, the way he was walking around. Like the velocity on his throws wasn't there. Like you could see all this. You don't do this to your quarterback. They don't know how to handle players. And this isn't a whole other fire Gase thing. We've done this shit for 6 weeks already. We all know he should be fired. But this is who is involved in the thought process here. And according to last time we talked to whoever the fuck it was, they said, oh, it's Gase, it's Joe Douglas. The entire team is involved in the decision. So now that just shows you, do they have any confidence anywhere? It's crazy, man. Like this, they're going to force him out there Monday night to say, oh, it's our best chance to win. Just like Frank Gore is. And it's just stupid. It's just a stupid fucking team.
Like I said, if you're looking out for the best interest in Sam, recognizing that his future is probably not with the Jets, then yeah, you sit him
to the 49ers. Just get him out of here. Save the poor kid.
You sit him. You let him get fully healthy. There's no purpose. There's nothing to gain from evaluating Sam in this offense any longer because it's not going to work. So yes, from that perspective, I totally get it. But from Sam's perspective, he's trying to get experience. He's still trying to prove he's an NFL quarterback. He wants to get out there. He wants to play. So like I also said, unless the doctors are telling you he could do, more damage to his shoulder by being out there or taking a hit the wrong way or something like that, the idea of not letting him play and trotting out Joe Flacco or something like that. I mean, I'd love to see Morgan personally. You invested a 4th round pick in him. Let's get him some experience. He's had, a number of months now to kind of learn the offense, whatever the hell this offense is. Get him out there.
This comment does feed Coach Gase a carrot. He seems to be starting to fade a bit. Yeah, I mean, some of the comments that came out of today. I mean, obviously, other news, they traded Avery Williamson, which we kind of predicted that. I mean, happy for him, man. Hey, go to the Steelers. I mean, Joe Douglas is doing a solid, all his players. Everybody he's trading to a championship level team.
Yeah, I have no issue with that. Again, a guy like Avery Williamson, I was on the record for months. I didn't want to pay him to begin with this year. Just, I wasn't a big fan of paying a guy that kind of money coming off an injury who probably wasn't part of your future. The fact that you were able to salvage a 5th round pick for him, I thought that was awesome. I see fans that are pissed off that, we traded him. I'm like, what kind of impact was he making? 5th round pick, even though it's 2022? I'll take it.
A pick of it. Yeah. Yep. I mean, I trade anybody. Like they're talking about like Marcus May maybe or other guys like that. Listen, if you're gonna blow it up. Yep. I mean, the problem that I have with it is a younger player like Avery Williams is a little bit older. I made an argument to cut him before the season even started. Remember, we went back there before Mosley opted out. I thought Williamson should have been cut then. But it's one thing to get rid of him and McClendon because they're older. The other trade they made didn't make sense. Who cares? But when you start getting rid of younger players, say a Marcus May or, even Jordan Jenkins, who's kind of young, that's interesting because these are guys that could be building blocks for next year. If you want to make them building blocks, is Gase making that decision or is Joe Douglas making that decision?
That's a fascinating question. And
because in theory, say in theory, like you get Jim Harbaugh next year, maybe Marcus May could flourish in Jim Harbaugh's system.
Well, that's the same exact point that I was trying to make for Le'Veon Bell. Why get rid of a talented player that clearly had plenty of interest around the league? And I know Le'Veon didn't play well on Sunday, but why get rid of a talented player who had plenty of interest when you don't know, that it was the system, right? Next coach comes in, maybe he has plenty of uses for Le'Veon Bell. Maybe he utilizes him in the passing game a lot more. So, to judge a lot of these players in the Adam Gase system or in the Greg Williams defense and then trade them away, these guys aren't being coached up right. And so to put any kind of value on a lot of these players, I think is wrong. And even a guy like Quinn Williams now, who, wasn't playing well, now he's starting to come on a little bit. What's the value for him? He wasn't drafted by you. Is a second round pick enough? Is it a first round pick? I don't know. I don't know how you treat this.
Yeah, I don't understand who's making the evaluations and the determination who should be traded, who should not be traded. So far, it hasn't been a big thing because guys that are going to probably be gone anyway. But when you get to that younger guy, you can make a case. Brian Poole's a very good corner. Bring him back next year. Jordan Jenkins' snaps have been significantly reduced. Is that because he's hurt? Because you're trying to phase him out? And these are young guys, man. I know they're on 1-year contracts, but it's just the whole decision-making process is just fascinating. I don't know. But what do you want to go into? I know you had something you want to talk about.
Well, all right. So I saw some of the comments about my position on Adam Gase, which is that I think he firmly believes he's coming back next year. I don't sense that he's getting fired based on, what Chris Johnson said after week 1, based on, Joe Douglas not saying a word. I mean, I don't think it's crazy to suggest right now that Adam Gase feels very comfortable that he's going to be back, that this tank was orchestrated, behind the scenes, him, Joe Douglas, they were in agreement. Hey, whatever happens this year, we're going to deal through it. We'll get through it together. And at the end of the year, you'll have your shiny new toy and Trevor Lawrence waiting for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because they actually had that on the Michael Kay show too, where I listened to them a little bit because I couldn't listen to, and it's just and Dom LaGreca said the same thing. He's like, is there a scenario where, Adam Gase is part of this plan where they're bring him back?
My whole thing is that if Adam Gase was truly and honestly coaching for his job right now, that's the best he could do. We all hate Adam Gase. We know his offense sucks.
Yep.
This bad though. I mean, look at some of the stats that have been coming out. There are 9 teams averaging more rushing yards than we are per pass. Think about in today's passing league, there are 9 teams getting more yards per run.
Dude, they have 4 passing touchdowns.
And Mahomes had 5 yesterday.
Yeah, I don't.
So knowing all that, for Adam Gase to be going out there the last 2 weeks and just running the same exact shit, Frank Gore up the middle, no creativity, no deep shots. He's coaching these games way too comfortably. If he's honestly coaching for his job and that's the best effort, I mean, he's proving the case that we've all been making, he should be fired. He's proving it. Otherwise, him and Joe Douglas are in agreement that losing these games is what's best for the organization going forward. And he's a part of the plan going forward.
Okay. And that's the thing. With me, it's like the Jets they got exactly what they wanted yesterday. They got the game was somewhat close. It fell apart towards the end, and nobody's mad. Jet fans become apathetic. There's no outrage today. Was there any outrage today anywhere? Everybody was laughing. Everybody was laughing.
Yeah.
No, but everybody's laughing. They're joking now. Oh, the Jets got blown out. Ha ha. They're the worst team in football. And everybody's breaking out these stats, which are appalling. They're ludicrous. You look at this could be one of the all-time worst teams ever.
Yeah. Point differential. They will be right now. They're on pace to be.
But almost in several offensive categories, they're going to be the worst ever in the history of NFL. Yep. And nobody's mad today. They're just a laughing stock. Another loss. That's the Jets.
That's what I'm saying, though. At what point, whether it's ownership, Joe Douglas, somebody you would think would make some kind of mandate that, hey, this has to turn around over the final half of the season, over the last 8 games. Otherwise, heads are going to roll. You haven't heard that. You haven't heard anything since week 1, other than Adam Gase is a brilliant offensive mind. That's all you've heard. So I just feel like when you're watching this team go out there and you're seeing the same stuff, no urgency at all, no points in 3 straight games in the second half. When that's what you're doing on offense, proving that you're a bad coach, what other conclusion can you draw that, he just feels way too comfortable because he knows he's coming back? Otherwise, I feel like there would be some sense of urgency to do something different, to change it up. Let Sam throw the ball 40 times, take a few deep shots, just something, anything to change it up. Up tempo. There's a number of things we've talked about. He hasn't tried any of it. So he looks just way, way, way too comfortable trotting out the same offense, going through the motions, taking the losses. He does not look like a coach that's coaching for his job right now.
Well, the other thing, too, is that all these trades are happening, too. So they're trading away players that could be somewhat valuable to him or releasing guys. And he's like, it's cool. McClellan's gone. Williams is gone. All right.
He's on the defense, though. And he never wanted Le'Veon Bell to begin with.
What I'm saying is, it's literally a fire sale underneath his nose where it's all right, they're taking away play calling. Say in theory, they took play calling dudes away from him. They're,
I'm not buying that either. I'm not buying that either.
You don't think so?
What I think that was an orchestrated plot to basically have Dowell Loggins become the fall guy, the sacrificial lamb, to get the media and the fan base to say, oh, it wasn't just Adam Gase. We put a new voice in there, still the same thing. New play caller, still the same result. So I think that's all that was, just to appease the fans and the media and say we tried something different, and it's been the same thing.
Great job, guys. Really inspiring to see your content. I mean, we're just trying to have fun, man. Like, it's the last thing you guys want us to do is go on for an hour and a half rant. Just fire this guy, fire that guy. Everybody sucks. This sucks. That sucks. I mean, it's boring for all of us, man. So we're trying to change it up a little bit.
I think some people might like that, though.
Huh? What's that?
I think some people like that, though.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they do. Could the Jets hate you guys? Prime time. You answered that question. I'm gonna go. My eyes are in tears.
Well, that's a very, very complicated question to answer. So I guess I'll start with the beginning. We kind of went into this a little bit last night. So about 5 years ago, we started this podcast, and the Jets, they credentialed us initially. And, I also write for the magazine NYSF Mag. So, between the articles that we were doing and then all the content on the podcast, we were credentialed through the Jets. We were at training camp almost every single day for the last 4 to 5 years. Not this year, of course. But yeah, last year, at a certain point, we made a decision. You know what? Like, we've done so many favors for the Jets as far as good PR goes, and trying to cover them in a positive outlook, that at some point, you want to cover things honestly and give a fair opinion, and that's what we started to do, and that's why they hate us now.
So apparently, Joe Douglas is meeting the media tomorrow. Is that true?
Is he really?
Because we're getting a lot of. Here we go. Right here. What kind of weak, timid, and submissive questions are the Jet beat writers going to ask JD tomorrow at 4:30?
Ooh.
We may have to bring out our Joe Douglas stuff early.
We may have to go live right after the press conference. If you're home. If not,
I can make it. Let's see what time is tomorrow. I can make this happen. Wow.
I'll be around. Right before we do the call-in show. We could do something on here.
I think the Douglas press conference tomorrow will be telling as to whether or not. This is it. This is what we've been waiting for. If that's true, I haven't been on social media that much this afternoon at all. Wow, Joe Douglas tomorrow at 4:30.
I'm looking right now. Yeah, there's one tweet I'm seeing right now. Should be very interesting tomorrow. No, not the election. Joe Douglas speaks at 4:30 from Jamie Stewart, NJ12.
Well, he's a writer.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. So that's interesting. Now, why is he choosing to meet the media now?
Mid-season.
Not during the bye week. I thought it was during the bye week.
Mid-season on their off day, and it's probably a longer week too because of the Monday Night Football next week.
All right. I'm not complaining.
I can't wait for this, man. This
long
dude,
long overdue.
This dude can't hide, man. He's got to tell us exactly what's going on. He can't give us no fluff, no bullshit, no coach speak. All the things he promised us, everything he said, his plan, and nothing has worked. Nothing at all.
Yep. Nope.
And you know what the funny thing was too, is that I try to stay away from certain shows. I don't want to get I want to keep our opinions unique and whatever. Mm-hmm. So I listen to Michael K anyway. I'm I just want to hear what they're saying. And they're like, and Michael K is like, you can't criticize Joe Douglas yet. It's too soon. No, I'm like, what?
No.
I'm like, they're like, well, the first, I think maybe Don McGregor said that, and then K ripped him. But I was like, wait a minute, how can you not rip him? So you say, okay, year one, he had McHagnon had the draft and spent the money, but then he had basically a year, the Ryan Khalil thing blew up in his face, the kicker thing blew up in his face, but he basically had a year to prepare for this year. Basically all he did was sit in his office and watch tape and evaluate his plan for this year, his draft plan, his free agent plan. His free agent plan is a bona fide mess. Almost none of them panned out. None of them. And the draft class, they've mostly been hurt, so we don't know what that is. But to give him a pass during this is crazy. You can't.
No, and we haven't, but I think he has an out and basically just trying to say that, we did a lot of those low risk, high reward type of deals because we didn't feel like we were a team that was that close to, being a contender yet. And, we felt like we were closer to that number one overall pick than we were to being a playoff team. So, we took a lot of low risk, signings, didn't really want to spend a whole lot of money, kept our options available for the future as far as cap space, as far as draft picks go, and just wanted to evaluate young guys this year. And if it works out that you get the number one overall pick, I mean, that kind of springs shots you a little forward. So I feel like that was the plan all along, that at least he could fall back on as the reason why this thing all failed.
I agree with Primetime. It is really hard to believe even Gase is this bad. It's like he's in on the joke. Joke will be on the Jets. No agent would let Lawrence go to the Jets with Gase. I agree.
And that, I think, could be the one way that Gase does get fired. If right now everything's cool between Joe Douglas, Adam Gase, Chris Johnson, we're all in agreement, you're going to be back. Once you finally start talking to Trevor Lawrence's agent and he says, no, you're bringing that coach back, I'm not playing for you then, that might get Gase fired. Trevor Lawrence could potentially get him fired. If you're in the number, if you're picking first overall, that might be the only thing that does it. Because right now, I'm sorry, I wish he would be fired. I believed he was. He just looks way too comfortable. The way he's calling these plays, the way he's answering questions, he doesn't look like a guy that's talking or coaching for his job.
But now the Jets are currently 0-8, the midway point of the season. There is not, other than Quinn Williams, there is not one player that's getting better. Like there's not, like we were talking about it yesterday. Like what's the bright spot? Mekhi Becton, who got banged up, but he's playing pretty well. He's got the potential off the charts.
Yep.
Him and Quinn Williams, and there is nothing else. There's not one other player like, oh shit, this guy's really coming on. Out of 22 starters, there's nobody.
And that kind of ties into my point. Wouldn't you think at this stage, right, 8 weeks into the season, Adam Gase would want to have a couple guys on that offense, whether it turned in Jeff Smith, Vincent Smith. Wouldn't he want to have a few plays on film of those guys stretching the field?
No, but I'm saying, but look at Joe Douglas. Like right now, if his whole project was, I'm an offensive line guy, I'm going to protect Sam. Okay, eight weeks into the season, what is this? The offensive line? Do we even have 5 confirmed starters? Like, do we really believe in Connor McGovern right now as our starting anchor center for the next 3 years?
Douglas will get a pass on that too, because Mekhi Becton's been the best offensive lineman in the draft, so he could tout that.
Oh man, I don't know why Joe. I can't wait for his press conference tomorrow. I don't know why Joe Douglas is going to get a pass. He shouldn't. There's no way, dude. This team, like you're looking about rolling over your building block players, and he's so excited to see this rookie class. Ashton Davis looked terrible yesterday. I know it's early, but he looked like he was lost. I mean, Cameron Clark's not playing. Zuniga's not playing. You have John Franklin Myers. Bryce Huff is coming on, undrafted free agent. That's good.
Yeah. No, like I said, I feel like this year was just, about evaluating a lot of these young guys. And as far as trying to win games, that was never part of the plan. At least not once you had the chance to trade Jamal Adams and then Mosley opted out. Once those two things happened within a couple weeks of it themselves, I think they looked at the roster and just said, you know what, this defense is far away. The offense, we still have plenty of questions about. And they just didn't want to invest any more assets into a team that was, like I said, probably closer to the first overall pick.
That's a terrible plan.
If they end up getting Trevor Lawrence, is it still a terrible plan?
It's not terrible. But you're wasting money. Like the money you spent on Desir, George Fant, $9 million, all the guys, like all the money you spent, and you're going Perryman.
Well, yeah, and then
it's just money lost. Like you got no return on your investment. The Jets basically threw the fucking money away.
And then you cut them at the end of the year instead of being tied to guys that maybe you handed out long-term contracts to and that weren't the answer and only, got you to 5-11, 6-10. I think Joe Douglas wanted to, and this, I'm actually somewhat supporting him because I said this before the season. I didn't want to be in that middle ground. You either go for it and try to win, truly build around Sam, get some legitimate playmakers in here, actually go for it, or do it the other way and tank. Don't, sign guys like Logan Ryan and other guys that are going to get you a few wins, but then, what do you have to show for it? If we're picking 7th or 8th, what do we do with that? So if you're going to tank, do it the right way and completely bottom out. And I feel like, that's what he could fall back on at this point, that he was the best at creating the worst roster. That's where we're at.
Because you look at the roster, we get a lot of tweets like, oh, what about this? What about that? I'm like, there's really not much to talk about because your MVP, we're after 8 games. Your MVP is probably Quinn Williams because there's nobody else even making plays.
Probably Becton. I think it could be Becton actually.
But there's nothing. Like we have nothing. There's not a positive to talk about. Like if you say do you want give us your report card? F everywhere. Look at you go through the offense, the running backs. This Frank Gore thing is ridiculous. Yeah. P. Ryan showed some burst, but the offense is terrible. Wide receivers, I guess Crowder is a bright spot. He had 300-yard games. He's your bright spot. Other than that, the tight end position's gone. The offensive line, I honestly have more you compare last year's offensive line to this year's offensive line, you have the difference is Becton. Other than that, what else is that you feel good about?
It's basically the same offensive line in terms of production minus Mekhi Becton.
Right? It's not. Yeah. It's nothing that much better.
McGovern, I guess, somewhat of an upgrade, but again, for the price tag you're paying him, same thing with George Fant, somewhat of an upgrade, but paying him $9 million, probably not, in the best interest long term. So yeah, as far as establishing building blocks, you really didn't do much other than Becton and maybe Cameron Clark if he ever gets on the field.
And then you look at your defense. Your defensive line is Quinn Williams, and pretty much the rest of the guys are going to be gone. You have John Franklin Myers, Bryce Huff, but Henry Anderson is going to be gone. Nathan Shepard hasn't really done much. Fotokasi hasn't done much except for the penalty yesterday. Yep. There's not a lot there.
What the hell happened to Kyle Phillips this year? He was all over the field last year, making plays, run game, even getting some pressures in there.
Shepard.
Yeah, haven't noticed any of those guys this year.
And then you look at your linebacker position, you basically need 4 linebackers.
Yep. unless you're bringing back
Right?
Jordan Jenkins, or unless you think that, Bryce Huff or Franklin Myers could be a starter, which, I don't. I think they're good situational pass rushers, but you probably want to shoot a little bit higher than that for starters. So, yeah, you probably need 4 guys, unless you're bringing back CJ Mosley, which you probably are, because you're not going to find anybody to take on his contract.
So then you have that. You look at the corners. You have Bless Austin. Poole's going to be a free agent. You got to hope Bryce Hall gets healthy and gets on the field. Desir won't be back. You basically need, look where we were last year and look where we are going into this year. I mean, we're going to have the same amount of holes we had last year, and actually probably more questions.
Yeah, because you need at least 1 safety, if not possibly 2, depending on what happens with Marcus May and how Ashton Davis finishes up the year. So, yeah, your best position last year was safety, and, that one impact spot was able to cover up a lot of holes. And, seeing that now, our defense has been awful pretty much every single game this year. And, yeah, the holes that we had at corner and at pass rusher, they're still there, as well as on the offensive side of the ball, wide receiver, O-line, all the premium spots. We still have plenty of holes to fix.
There are so many holes, dude. Like, there are so many holes. Like, Joe Douglas has got to pray that he drafts well and this draft class pans out, because you can, even with the $75 million of cap space, you have so many holes that's not going to even do a dent in the holes that you have.
Yep. And again, the thing we always get into with the Jets tax, I mean, who's coming to the Jets right now with the state of the team, unless you're overpaying them? Unless you're giving them significantly more than the next offer, you're probably not getting somebody to come to the Jets right now. Thank you,
NY Jet Fan 1991. Listen, man, the more I think about it, and I've been thinking about it more and more. If your Joe Douglas interview isn't just you asking questions to an empty chair, I'll be highly disappointed. I mean, I assure you, we have, for the sake of the Jets, they better hope Joe Douglas does a phenomenal job tomorrow. Because if he doesn't, I guarantee you Wednesday night, we're going to put on a show for you people. Because I would just... I promise everybody that's listening right now, if Joe Douglas does not answer the tough questions tomorrow, or tries to dance around it, or do some double talk that's not coherent with what he was saying in the offseason, we'll have the exclusive, the real interview the following night. We will be sure we'll be banned from every Jets outlet going forward for the next 10 years. But the more I think about it, I'd be because my concern about hiring a first-time head coach of this team is that you're walking into just a football hell. Your roster is barren. The media is pissed. The fans are tired of losing all this shit. You really need a strong personality, dude. I'm all in for Jim Harbaugh. That
could honestly though, and we'll get to Harbaugh. That might be the best scenario for a new coach to be walking into. I mean, the bar couldn't be any lower right now with what we've been watching. He comes in and wins 5 or 6 games.
We're not going to tolerate first-time head coach fucking time management problems, roster management. We're not going to tolerate it, dude. Let's be honest.
New coach comes in and wins 5 or 6 games. Everyone's going crazy, and we love him.
If he blows a 2-minute drill, we're gonna roast him.
Yeah, we will. But I'm saying the perception right now amongst most Jeff fans, the bar is just so low right now that I think any first-time head coach can come in, show a little bit of progress, win a couple games, and that'll be enough to say, you know what, it's better than Adam Gase. We're heading in the right direction.
Fuck that, not me. I want Harbaugh. I do. I want a powerful, prominent guy that's been in the Super Bowl before. He can win. He's got a blueprint. He's got a plan. He's got a program.
I'd be all about him. Guy. I'd be all about him. But do you really think that Chris Johnson or Woody Johnson are going to open up the checkbook and give him 10 years, $100 million like John Gruden got with the Raiders? I don't think he's going to get that from the Jets.
Dude, this organization is back where it was when Kotite was here, and you need a Parcells to bail us out. That's where we are right now. This is it, dude. We have lost any sense of respect and credibility throughout the NFL. We have nothing. We are that team now. We're the joke. We're the old Detroit Lions. We're the old Cleveland Browns. We're that team now. So how do you get rid of that? You hire a timid coach that can't handle the media or can't handle his fan base. He'll be out here in 2 years, and we're set back again. And the last thing you want is to have a Trevor Lawrence and fire his coach for 2 years. Dude, I'm all over Harbaugh. I'm in.
But another aspect of that is Joe Douglas probably wanting a guy, again, if he's going to move on from Adam Gase and install his own coach, he's going to want a guy that's going to be his own coach, somebody that probably
I'll tell you right now,
that he has some control over.
You can get a prominent guy.
But do you really think
Joe... the fuck out of here too then?
Well, I would agree with that. Do you think Chris Johnson is just going to say, all right, see you later with your 6-year contract? That's not happening.
Dude, at some point, you got to cut your losses. You got to recognize where you are and be like, listen, Joe, we appreciate what you're trying to do here, but we have an opportunity to completely change it over. So you're either part of it or you're not. Either you take a step back or you're out the door.
No. Listen, I agree with that 100%. If you can get a prominent head coach, Joe Douglas, see you later. But ownership's not going to do that. They're not going to eat 4 years of a contract on a general manager that they're paying over $2 million a year. They're not going to do
Dude,
that.
$2 million
They
is nothing to them.
they are going to let Joe
Cheap asses.
$2 million is nothing to them. Yet they didn't want to pay another coach by firing Adam Gase, paying Todd Bowles too. And Todd Bowles was making what, like $500,000 after his salary from Tampa as defensive coordinator. He was making shit. Yet they were still cheap about that. And like we've talked about several times, when was the last time we opened up the checkbook for a coach? Like you said, Bill Parcells, right? I mean, yeah, we don't pay prominent
we need that kind
coaches.
of presence, man. Like
we do, but I don't think Joe Douglas wants that guy. He doesn't want a guy that's going to be over his head.
Joe Douglas wants. At some point, ownership's got to realize it. Listen, like the thing is, like I respect Joe Douglas and what they're doing. I understand what the whole vision is here, but we've hit rock bottom now. So as Chris Johnson, at some point's got to get his head out of his ass, say, listen, okay, we've bottomed out. How do we get out of it? Okay, well, we can maybe go at the Eric Bieniemy route. But wait a minute. Somebody says, hey, you know what? Jim Harbaugh is available if you want to interview him. Well, of course we do, but he may not want this. So then you say, listen, as owner of my team, I think this guy can salvage it. Joe Douglas, will you be willing to do this? Okay, you're not. Well, then you know what? You're going to have to go then because this is my business. This is my company. This has to happen. And the funny thing is, for the first time ever, Boomer sides and started deciding too. He said, you know what? This organization is so bad right now. He wants to try to get Sean Payton out of New Orleans because he just showed that this is that bad. So, like, welcome to reality, Boomer. And the funny thing is, like, some of these members of the media are now, after 8 losses, saying we've been saying for the last 5 weeks. We were idiots 5 weeks ago, but now we're all on the same page now. But, dude, I'm all in for Harbaugh, dude. I am. If you can get me a big name coach, I'm in because you're going to need it for this. This situation's a mess. No, and who the hell does Joe Douglas have ties to? Don't try to sell me the defensive coordinator of the Ravens. Like, no, that's the answer.
But again, just to play devil's advocate here for a sec, you know, if we're so upset with ownership, you know, for a number of years, how many years were we pissed off, like with the Tebow deals, with ownership meddling in certain, you know, player personnel decisions, or with the head coach, GM, the reporting structure, all that? If you finally have a chance to get your football guy and Joe Douglas to hire his own coach, and he wants to go first-time guy, college guy, offensive coordinator, if that's his guy, shouldn't we let the GM make that decision and not the owner, who, again, we've said doesn't know football? I mean,
if you're gonna give Joe Douglas that power, then you better hope that he understands the significance of this hire, because you can't have in theory, you can't have a Trevor Lawrence and his coach. We just went through the way to fuck up a quarterback with Sam Darnold. We can't go down that path again. You can't hire a bad coach here. Don't hire a failed coach somewhere else. And I already see the comments. Well, you know, Jim Harbaugh is failing in Michigan. Listen, coaching kids and coaching the NFL is a completely different environment. It's how you recruit. Can you get through them? He's proven that he can win in the NFL. He went to Super Bowl with Kaepernick. He can win here. But Joe Douglas, if you want to double down, it's okay. Listen, this is your team. You get your coach, and he hires some guy, you know, dude.
Well, then, yeah, if it doesn't work out, he goes down with him. And then you hopefully get it right with a prominent GM in 2 to 3 years, and we go through the cycle again, except, again, you let that guy hire his own coach. Fix the reporting structure. I think that's the biggest thing right now.
It'd be interesting to see, it'd be interesting to see if Joe Douglas is in charge of search, if he even goes out for big fish, if he even does that, or he keeps, you know, like he keeps guys where he can have that power. Like, all right, you know what? I'm going to hire you, but you report to me now. Like, does he play that power role? You know what? We're going to do this now. You know, because if you get any big name coach, it can be like, you know what, Joe, I'm not reporting to you, bro, because you're just not accomplished here. You're a first-time GM. It's not really doing that well.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think any prominent head coach that we're talking about, whether it's a Harbaugh or a Payton or somebody like that.
You're telling me we're screwed, aren't you?
Pretty much. I'm saying that you have to be creative and find the right, whether it's college coach, offensive coordinator. I mean, we had Matt Rule in the building. We had Kingsbury in the building. You know, we had Matt Campbell, all these other guys, Bieniemy. They were all in the building. You had a chance to hire them. So, I mean, this cycle, there's going to be options available. Pick the right one for once.
See, Michael, if you got to listen to the whole context here, I'm not running Joe Douglas out of town. I'm giving our team options. Joe Douglas, while I understand he's a general manager and he has a lot of power here, he can be in charge of the coaching hire or the search. But if he's going to ignore certain coaches because he's too insecure and can't handle it, you're not the right guy for the job. Like, to me, it's like if you have a plan, but if something comes available to you that you didn't think was going to become available, and you don't explore it, and you're the New York Jets, you're the worst team in football.
But
right, so like, say right now, just say in theory, right now, everybody's cool with Eric Bieniemy. Eric Bieniemy is everybody's guy, right? Okay, fine. But all of a sudden, just lo and behold, Sean Payton could become available. Just say just a name. You're going to say, no, I'm going to ignore Sean Payton, one of the best coaches in football, because my general manager doesn't get along with him. A guy that can change the direction of your franchise. You're going to say, no, I'm good. Let me hire a first-time head coach because my general manager says so. No thanks.
But that's what's going to happen, though, because any kind of head coach like Peyton or like a Harbaugh, they're going to want too much say in terms of player personnel decisions. They're going to want too much authority, and Joe Douglas probably is not going to want to give that up if he has any power right now to begin with, which we don't even know. Because like we talked,
I don't know. I think Gase still has too much power, so it makes me wonder about that to begin with.
So again, going back to this, if Gase has so much power, why would he be all about the tank right now?
What if I'm getting roast here? I don't understand. What Joe Douglas has a prominent front office. They have a good staff they put in place. He held out for all his guys, bringing his front office and everything else. And I get it, but after 2 years, I'm not impressed. And everybody should be held accountable. I want to see what he says tomorrow. But when the coaching search happens, who does Joe Douglas have ties to right now? The Ravens and maybe some of the Eagles. Okay, so who is it? We don't know who an Adam Gase player is. We don't know who a Joe Douglas coach is. So I'm curious to see what the coaching search is. Is it a broad? Is it a big landscape, or is it going to be a narrow search? Do I have faith in him? I don't know what Joe Douglas is. I guess he's going to tell us tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't have no faith in this organization whatsoever. I don't like. What has he done to earn it? What has Joe Douglas earned? Like, what has he earned with us all of a sudden?
It's a complete unknown. We have no idea what direction he's going to want to go in or who he would target, but I still don't think he would want to hire, a prominent established coach that would, take away some of his power or some of the perceived power that the general manager should have.
Kevin makes too much sense to be a Jets fan. I mean,
nice to see you getting ripped on some comments.
Bring them on. I don't really give a shit. I question everybody. Like, I don't care. Like, this is when you got to look at the state of this team and all the problems you have with ownership, the questions you have about the power struggles and the hierarchy and everything else. We don't like tomorrow. We'll learn a lot because I really don't know what Joe Douglas, what kind of say he has.
We're not going to learn shit tomorrow.
But I'm saying the Jets are 0-8, and he's overseeing the same shit that Adam Gase is overseeing. Like all these poor things. Not much is changing. Roster management, all this stuff has been horrendous. So
no arguments from me, man.
I'm not giving him the benefit of the doubt for anything. I have PSD. I really don't understand how, man. Like, what? Tell me other than drafting Becton, what has Joe Douglas done for you to say, wow, he blew me away? Oh, the Leonard Williams trade. Okay, he got good value in that.
And then he took Ashton Davis.
So then he got good value with the Leonard Williams trade. The Jamal Adams trade, yes, he got good value, but we're going to ignore how that all went down when he could have probably had him signed, or he kind of blew the negotiations. But we don't want to talk about that because everybody just wants to hate on Jamal. So everybody's going to praise Joe Douglas to give him all these draft picks. He better nail on 60% of them, or it's going to blow up in his face anyway.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of the discussion about the Jamal Adams trade. What a steal that was. Well, this year's pick is definitely going to be at least 25, if not higher.
Yep.
The following year pick is probably going to be the same thing. So that's where your scouting ability should kind of come into play. You're going to have 3 picks within the first 33 this year, and probably a similar draft standing the following year. So you got to hit those picks. You trade away prominent players that deserved contract extensions. That's ultimately the goal. When you draft a player, you want to be able to sign them to an extension because they outperform their contract. Well, Jamal Adams was the perfect example of that. Nobody outperformed their rookie deal better than him over the last, 5, 6 years, 10 years. Yeah, we want to make him a Jet for life. Those were your words. And not one thing that you did this offseason with Jamal, as far as reaching out to him to, have contract negotiations, especially doing it before the draft. So you could have got your compensation on draft night. I mean, everything that they did, they completely mishandled that situation. Granted, they got the 2 first-round picks, but until you hit on them, we have nothing to show for it right now.
Yeah, and I'm not running Joe Douglas out of town. We're holding him accountable. And if a better option comes along that could change the direction of your team, you have to explore it. You have no choice. Like, this is it. And the last thing you want to do is draft Trevor Lawrence and have a coaching change in 2 years or have dysfunction. We just lived through dysfunction. We just lived through how to do everything backwards. How you fire your general manager, you hire a coach, and you hire a general manager after. We did everything wrong. We just saw it over the last 3 years. So let's not repeat it. So if you have it, you have to, the head coach you hire is going to have to be here for the next 4 years with Joe Douglas. That's got to be your plan. Yep. You got to have continuity. The last thing you want is you hire a head coach, then Joe Douglas blows something, and you fire him the following year. Then we're in the same boat we just came out of, right? Like,
yeah.
This is it. If you say Joe Douglas, you hired a coach, then you know what? You two are tied together for the next 4 years, and as fans, that's it. This is it. This is our guys. Deal with it.
Completely agree.
So, I mean, I'm not. You guys can come at me all you want. I don't care. I'll defend myself all day long. I'm not scared of nothing. This is just we got to look at the state of our team, man. And I can't wait for this press conference. I cannot wait because he can't justify half the shit he's been doing.
I'm excited for it just to hear him, finally answer some questions. But I'm not expecting to learn anything from it or to hear anything that
Does he get hard questions? You think?
I think he'll get somewhat hard questions, but he'll have the answers ready to go to dance around it like he usually does. I mean, he'll have his answers ready. He'll defend every move that he made. He'll defend Gase. All the quotes that he said this offseason. He'll have answers ready.
I'm curious. I'm curious. That, I mean, they didn't fire Gase yet, but I'm assuming they are. But for Chris Johnson to answer those questions too, because one of the biggest things when you go for your coaching search is, okay, what is going to be your power structure? Are they both going to report to the owner? Are they going to report all these different things? They got to learn their lessons sooner or later, man. They have to. No,
not to go back into it, but again, honestly, you really think Adam Gase is getting fired at the end of the year?
I do. Yep. Even the most stout supporters of him are even saying it now.
I wish I felt that confident, but again, just watching his mannerisms, the way he talks, the play call,
he can just be dude. They probably just he's just probably being a team guy. So you know what? You got to finish out this season.
Adam Gase, the guy.
But hear it out.
Think what you just said.
But he's not going to quit. He's not going to quit. They're saying
so. Adam Gase is going to go out there and take one for the team. Have everybody look bad.
He's not getting that job anywhere else.
Take it all on his
We'll see. They get hired at. They're saying ride this season out. We're going to pay for 2 more years after it, and we all move on. Okay.
We know Adam Gase. We've said
who else is going to hire him, dude?
We've said it every show. He is an arrogant prick, ego through the roof. You really think he's taking one for the team and just going out there playing good soldier while the team looks like shit and taking all the blame? It's all on me.
Well, how else can you explain it? There's no other way to explain it.
Oh, there is another way to explain it. Like you've just mentioned, with him having more power than Joe Douglas, there's a reason for that. If he has more power than Joe Douglas, which you have insinuated on almost every show that we've done, and I agree with you, he might have more power than Joe Douglas. If that's the case, who orchestrates the tank? Joe Douglas or does Adam Gase do it?
So wait, Tyson, yes, JD needs to step up the organization to cut ties to Gase, but your analysis saying that JD has done nothing in terms of the draft, taking players in the offseason is nonsense. Nonsense, really? Let's go through your boy JD's fucking free agent class. How many guys did he sign are going to be coming back next year? Pierre Desir? No.
All part of his plan, though, to roll that cap money over to next year.
How'd that Perryman move work out for everybody? Is that a good move? Overpaid George Fant. How quality is that move? You're highly touted center. How good is that? How many building blocks did Joe Douglas sign this offseason that are coming back next year?
But again,
he wasted the fucking free agent class.
Just playing devil's advocate, these are also contracts and money that he will be able to free up at the end of the year. He's not tied down with any
wasted money.
I'm just saying. For this year,
if you're making a special decision and letting Robbie Anderson walk, you took a 1-year flyer on a guy that's hurt and contributing nothing. That's called a failure. Sorry, Dylan. That's what it's called. It's called a failure. When you're so proud of getting Tremaine Johnson and you replace him with Pierre Desir, who's god awful, that's called a failure. Because what you do is when you spend money, you find building blocks, they come back and you contribute and you build along that way. So his draft class, we don't know what the draft class is. It's going to be 2 more years. But let's start by getting healthy first. Or start by having a quarterback when you draft him. You're not scared to play him. You don't hide him behind Mike White, that legend. Or David Fale, that legend. Or how about having Joe Flacco, who's god awful, who wasn't even healthy for the first 2 weeks? You want to talk about that? Or is that too far to go?
Listen,
do we really want to get into
free agency? No, we can get into it. Listen, free agency was a bust for the most part. Pretty much all the moves that he made, guys that he replaced, have not worked out. There,
wide receiver group in a whole is a mess.
I think they viewed my biggest issue with the wide receivers is what they did in the draft. Free agency, I have no issue minus what they did with Robbie Anderson. He should have been back. That's a no-brainer. Yes, that was a big move. I'm not saying it wasn't. But again, I feel like where they really screwed up at the wide receiver position was in the draft, because we've seen almost every single guy that was taken within the first 3 to 4 rounds. They're on the field every week, making plays, part of, dynamic offenses, stretching the field. So again, when it comes to the draft, that's where we screwed up at wide receiver. Should have taken at least 2, if not 3 wideouts. That's where they should have addressed wide receiver.
So, I mean, I'll take Joe. I have no problem taking Joe Douglas to task here. Everybody wants to hate on Gase. Hate on Gase. He has some responsibility in this roster. This year's roster is some too. This offensive line that everybody's complaining about. Oh, this guy sucks. That guy sucks. I'm going to protect Sam Darnold. Okay, did you? Okay,
Really?
you got your first round pick right. McHagnon did the same thing with Jamal Adams. So what? Good, cool. What about after that? We're not going to do it for 2 more years, but these guys are all freaking hurt. And whatever, dude. I'm not. I mean, he has a lot to prove in my eyes. I'm not giving. He's not just because he's not Mike McHagnon doesn't make him a star in my eyes. He has a lot to prove. And now what we're doing is we're going to arm him with a crazy amount of cap space and a crazy amount of draft picks. And this fucking guy better do something with it. So he doesn't. He set us back 5 more years because it's built through the draft. Okay, you better do it, dude, because we don't have anything here.
No, listen, I've had the same questions as you. I think Joe Douglas deserves plenty of criticism for the way this year has turned out with all the teams that we've inherited over the years. You know, when Idzik inherited, the left that Tannenbaum left him, when Mike McHagnon inherited the mess that Idzik left him, even those teams right away, I mean, they were competitive those first years. Almost every team that, when we've had a new head coach come in, we've had competitive teams. We have not seen a team like this ever, even under Kotite. They have never looked this bad. So yes, Joe Douglas absolutely shares in a lot of that responsibility. Almost half of this roster is his. So yes, it's fair to criticize him, but I think that he'll be able to fall back on in his press conference tomorrow the idea that he was looking towards the future. He planted some of those seeds in spite of the fact that, he was trying to sell the fans on 6-2 being a fluke. He still planted some of those seeds, by not spending by not spending the $30 million. That's money you can't spend in 2021. He planted some seeds that the team was looking towards the future here. So, this year I think was a lot about evaluation for a lot of the young guys, not falling in that middle ground where, they lose out on the number 1 overall pick or a chance to, groom their own quarterback. I think that was in the back of their mind. Just looking at the roster where it was, especially after the Adams trade and Mosley opting out, there just wasn't a lot of talent here, and they weren't going to, foolishly spend money or trade draft capital from the future to try to win now. Because I don't think they viewed it as close.
If that's the case, then don't walk around saying we have a chip on our shoulder or the best coach in sports.
Yes.
We're going to do this.
And that is what he has to answer for tomorrow. The quotes that he tried to sell to the fan base, that this team was close, best culture in sports, all the faith in the world in Adam Gase, Jamal Adams a Jet for life. I mean, there is a whole list of comments that he said in the offseason. None of them have been true. That's what he's got to answer for tomorrow.
Well, and then holding this coach accountable. Be like, you're getting blown out week in and week out. You're being embarrassed. The time management, game management, your quarterback, you make, like, somebody could say, you can make a very good argument that this coaching staff has ruined Sam Darnold. You can make a very good argument that's the case. How does he explain it?
But he's not going to throw the coaching staff under the bus tomorrow.
Don't say names. Okay, your quarterback is regressing to the point where a lot of people think he's not going to be here next year. How do you explain what went wrong? Tell us.
He'll spread the blame. It's a combination of things. It's the players that he brought in, the players that he inherited, the coaching staff, injuries, not having wide receivers out there for a number of games. Yeah, he'll have all the excuses ready to go.
Crazy, man.
Yep.
This is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, let's see what we got here. I have no idea what the score of the Giants game is. Do you?
7-3 Giants.
What?
Yep. And right on cue, Leonard Williams takes down Tom Brady for a big sack.
No way.
Yep.
Tyson expects a horrible franchise to turn around in a year. Let Joe get some time to establish himself. No, I don't. See, this is where you're assuming the wrong things here. I understand this team is rock bottom. We have no talent. We have no leadership. We have no coaching. We have nothing here, including a quarterback. So it's going to take 3 years to figure it out. But if you get a guy that can do that, so would you rather have a Sean Payton or Jim Harbaugh running the team or Joe Douglas?
I think
that's
it's obvious.
My question.
Yeah, you'd rather have Harbaugh or Payton.
You're going to say no, fuck you, Sean Payton. No, I don't want you, Jim Harbaugh, because I got Joe Douglas because I only gave him 1 year here. Good for you, man. That's more power to you. I would never say that. I don't give a shit what Joe Douglas thinks he is. If you have a chance to get a prominent head coach here, I'm taking that prominent head coach. It's the way I'm going.
That's you, and that's most sensible Jet fans. The way that ownership's going to view it, though, they just gave this guy a big contract. He's supposed to be their football guy in the building. They're going to let him have say in this decision. If we even fire the coach, I think this is going to be his decision. If he wants to keep Adam Gase, I think he'll have say to do that as well.
And listen, I have no problem giving Joe Douglas the chance to rebuild the team, but it comes down to the coach. Because he's only as good as the coach that he brings in here. And right now, the way he's working with this coach is not good for anybody involved. No. Because either Adam Gase has too much power when he tries to trade for a running back that's hurt and fails a physical and comes here and is absolutely dreadful. I mean, are we forgetting all the things that happened to this point that Joe Douglas is somehow involved in? or it's just everything getting blamed on Gase here. Like he's still part of the organization here. Like the decisions that are being made, he's signing off on, right? Or am I missing something here?
Oh.
So like he has some questions to answer. So yes, he has a chance to go and move for 4 more years. He can do whatever he wants, unless we get a coach that can really make a difference. And he says, you know what, that's not my guy. Well, then you make a choice. Then, do you going to go Joe Douglas's guy, or do you go with the coach that has been there, done that, and actually won the NFL and wants the job, which would probably be a miracle anyway?
You would think they would want the prominent guy, somebody with a proven resume that can kind of shake things up here, really turn the organization around, as opposed to Joe Douglas, who is still unproven in spite of his reputation around league circles. He is still unproven. But again, you gave him 6 years. He still has 4 years on that deal. I think, just personally, I think they're going to let him see that out, hire his own coach. And
if anything,
those guys are going to go down together. Yeah.
If anything, it'd be good for him. If he has this highly reputable front office that everybody believes in, that can do a really good scouting job, he says, you know what, if I team up with a winning coach, I could win faster and I look a lot better. That's what he really should be. Listen, if I can get Jim Harbaugh to come here with me, listen, I'm going to give him all the players. I'm going to be a genius in this town. You can actually benefit from it.
He might want it initially, but then once you get Harbaugh in the room and he says, hey, I want more authority. Exactly. He tries to, see some power away from Joe Douglas. Then, yeah, that's where I could see him maybe not want to be a part of that. And that would be a decision for ownership then.
Yeah, I mean, I have so many questions about the power structure of this team. Here's a good question. Just because JD was groomed and sat behind successful GMs doesn't mean he's guaranteed to be one. I mean, we were told that John Idzik was going to be a good guy because he came from Seattle, a highly touted Seattle front office.
Yep.
Mike McCagnon was a football guy making football decisions. That didn't work out. But it comes out, you got to have the symmetry between the general manager and the head coach. You have to. It can't be a power struggle. It can't be a pissing contest. You can't be a prearranged marriage, like with Bowles and McCagnon. Like you gotta be like this. It's gotta be the same page, man. Or because I'm telling you, we just went through this with Sam. You cannot, in theory, root with Trevor Lawrence with the same shit we just went through. The last thing you want is 2 years from now us doing the same show with you wearing a fucking donkey head, and I'm gonna go out of my mind.
Hopefully,
right? Could you imagine?
Hopefully that's just for the end of this year. Oh my God, I can't imagine doing that another year. But yeah, dude, I share a brain with you on that. I'd love for the prominent guy to come here. I think it would benefit Joe Douglas. I just don't know if that's in his mindset. I don't know if Chris Johnson and ownership would want to pay that kind of coach, although it's desperately needed. It's what we're lacking right now, that kind of structure.
That's how you change your culture.
That kind of figure, absolutely. We saw it with Parcells. We need it now. I just don't know if we're getting that guy or if that guy's even going to be available. That guy would want to come here. If he's going to come to the NFL, like
what if right now. Yep. This is the what if, like, what if this, what if that? But the conversation came up and I was like, dude, I completely 1,000, like, we're at that point. And you look at the stench surrounding this team right now. I mean, this stench is deep, dude. You look at all the holes in the roster. You look at the way that, like, there's like, and the one thing, and actually a good point that Boomer made today was like, listen, he goes, these young players, the ones that we all want to see play, are learning the absolute worst habits. Mm-hmm. They're learning how to lose. They're learning how to accept losing. They're learning how to not care. They're just learning your first impression in the NFL could not be any worse if you're a young player on this team. It cannot be any worse. So you gotta almost reprogram all these young kids to be like, okay, listen, what you went through last year is not real NFL. That's some college bullshit or some that's probably some high school shit. Yeah. Like, here's the NFL now. Here's your regimen. Here's your program. Here's how you're gonna win football games. You're gonna be well coached, disciplined, smart. Like, you gotta just change it all, man.
Yeah, and that's part of why I hate putting so much on Sam, because this coaching staff, they don't have a clue, dude. Like, it's been so obvious since last year. We've seen it every week. We've had reasons to fire them after every single game. You're not putting any of these young guys in a position to get better, to take advantage of opportunities on Sunday. Whatever you're doing in practice, you're not translating it over to game day. Nobody's getting better. Nobody's improving. Yet you have nothing to tout right now.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. Let's see. This stench really stinks. Yeah, this team is bad, man. Yep. Giants marching down the field. We gotta watch this game. What time is it? It's 9. We gotta wrap this up here.
I look up and I see Todd Bowles shaking his head.
This guy's coming after me. So Tyson's saying there needs to be cohesion between the head coach and GM after saying he wants to bring in Harbaugh, who will pull a power grab. No, if you bring in, what's that? Michael, call in tomorrow night too. We'll do a live 8:30. Listen, when you bring in Harbaugh, you're going to have a power structure in place when you bring him in. So listen, if you come here, what do you need? Okay, do you want personnel say or do you not? What do you want? We want everybody on the same page. Can you work with Joe Douglas? Can you not? You figure it all out. and say, listen, can you two work together or not? And if you can't, you make a decision. Okay, we're not going to hire you or get rid of the general manager. But you have to have a plan. Say, listen, we need whoever we hire next year to be in sync with our general manager for the next 4 years, at least. We have to have continuity now. We can't do the traveling roadshow anymore. So if Harbaugh can't do it, then fine. Listen, if you don't want to have that, we can't do it, fine. But if you can grant, great. But it's got to be, you got to have full buy-in, not like, they can't just tolerate each other. It never works like that.
Oh, that's fair. I have no arguments.
Prime time's exhausted.
Yeah.
Let's see. Here's a question for you. Well, he doesn't throw deep.
Well, yeah, I mean, the one throw he did have was complete to Mims, but even that ball, it was floating up there. It seemed like forever. Like you said, it was a Chad Pennington type of throw. So that was the first indication that we were starting to think, all right, something's wrong here. He's hurt, or the shoulder's not 100%. I don't know if that's playing into what's going on with the deep balls, but yeah, I mean, the deep accuracy has just not been there all year, and unfortunately, he just hasn't had many opportunities to throw it deep. When you only give him 1 or 2 chances a game, you're not going to get better that way. So whether or not, they're doing it in practice or not, or if just, their game plans to throw all these screen passes, ground and pound, and protect Sam, I really don't know what the hell the game plan is, but they're not giving him a chance to develop anything deep. And the offensive line usually isn't even blocking well enough to allow him to, do a 5-step drop and air it out. So
Muppet tells the puppet what to do, period. Puppet gets to keep his job if he defends Muppet. Spoiler, Joe Douglas will explain why Gase is doing a good job in his press conference.
Well, but wait, is Joe Douglas the Muppet or the puppet?
I just want to make the shirt, man. I just want to make shirts. That's all I want to do. Let's see. A fair question for Joe Douglas would be, in your 2 years here, what positive changes have you built?
That'd be a very good question.
That's a great question.
And I think he would talk about, what you're not seeing. He would give an Adam Gase type of answer. You don't see what we see in practice, the culture, the continuity, guys coming together. He'll give you that kind of answer. I promise you.
We will roast the living shit out of him. He pulls that nonsense, dude.
Just get ready for it. Get ready for it.
We will roast the living shit out of him.
How else does he sell his first 2 years?
Tyson and Kevin, did you guys hear the rumor that Jets fans never usually eat pastries? Only when they do, it's usually a turnover.
Keep them coming. Love it.
What are we doing here?
Love it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, let's see. Don't worry, guys. Joe Douglas' press conference will happen right after the amazing practice session. So he will say, did you guys see the practicing out there?
Yep.
Practice Super Bowl.
That's probably why he did it for tomorrow. Right after practice. Good practice he could talk about.
I guess we could start wrapping this up, prime time. What do we got here? Let's see. Douglas didn't want to take the job where he couldn't fire Gase. That's why it took the Jets so long to sign him on. Took him 3 tries to get it. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah, he never wanted the job to begin with.
Nope. All right, prime time. I guess we'll just wrap this up, and then we're going to look at tomorrow at 4:30. We'll see what Joe Douglas does. We're live 8:30 on Blog Talk tomorrow night. So, but if something happens before that and it goes right to shit, we may come on here too then.
We're either going to be live before then, or if you're busy, then I'll just do a random rant. But something will be posted on YouTube after that Joe Douglas
I'll give you
tomorrow.
We'll just get you on here, dude. Just live YouTube that shit.
Well, as long as you're home, we'll just go live.
All right, cool. Thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate it. Go watch the Giants, Buccaneers, and that's it. Talk to you guys later.
Later.